Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
let's dive into it. I'm looking forward to getting into your story. And to begin, I know we're all getting tired of talking about COVID, but it was such a big moment for us to get through a pandemic. How did you
Yes.
survive the pandemic, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
Business wise or
Pro-
just any?
Probably in general, the Venn diagram probably kind of goes into itself, but probably just
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, my whole family and I, we were in Switzerland at the time where COVID was happening. So, with my corporate job, we had an assignment, so we lived in Switzerland. I think what we've experienced was slightly different what folks in the US experienced for sure, because there was a little bit of a we are state driven, right? So there's just kind of like everyone is doing their own thing depending on the state. Switzerland has seven cantons. They do have kind of similar regulations, but overall, people are kind of like all on the same board. So we were only on a lockdown from probably March to April. And then everyone went back to school. Everyone were working. As long as everyone kind of followed the guidelines, I think we're all good. The beauty for me, I was working from home. And I think this is how I started thinking about, what's next and launched the business on a side. And then, we just kind of enjoyed the nature. It's a perfect country to continue to be
Yeah.
outside and, stay away from maybe being close to people and.
Yeah.
So my story is way different probably than anyone else's.
But that would be a great place of all places, Switzerland. I can't imagine how majestic it is out there. So you're obviously a strategy leader and expert, but I want to know if I put you in front of a bunch of third grade students on career day and one of the kids was curious what you did every day, and they were like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
That's a good question because now I'm fully in transition into business. I would probably say I help very busy adults get their time back because I'm
Okay.
in staffing now. I'm in HR.
Okay.
And I feel like if I'm talking to a child, it's really hard to explain what HR is. You can probably explain some levels like I'm a doctor or I'm a teacher, but staffing and HR and people placement, that's a really hard topic to explain to a child. But I feel like if I, you know, every day when I feel I'm rocking my day is when another adult, another business owner tells me, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I saved so much time." Or I'm growing so fast, right? So for a child, they probably understand how busy sometimes they could see perception of how busy maybe their parents are, right?
Yeah.
So kind of connecting the dots for them and seeing like, imagine your mom and dad, and I'll give them half a day free. So it's something like that.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
I wanted to be a flight attendant.
Okay.
I feel like for me, again, I grew up not in the United States. I probably took my first flight when I was in second grade, and that probably was an inspiration. I was mesmerized by just flying in general. And I think that was my dream because it was just something outside of what I see day to day.
So take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were some of the foundational seeds that were planted into you for this career path to help people strategically navigate their careers and their lives? How did this all evolve into who you are today?
Good question. Um, I was born and raised and grew up in Uzbekistan. It's one of the stands that was part of the Soviet Union. I think by the age of seven, Soviet Union collapsed, but our homeland is known for very kind people, very welcoming. You can meet somebody on the street and, I can invite you to my house that same day and we're best friends, right? It's very easy to create relationships. Um, Everyone is very generous, I would say. So culturally, that definitely was something that, helping nature is probably built in as a culture. A huge role, I think, in terms of my upbringing, played my family, my grandparents and my parents, being very just kind of helpful with family members, friends, and whatnot. So I would say a combination of kind of a melting culture pot too played a role because right now I place people from all over the world with people all over the world. And In Uzbekistan, we had a little version of a diversity because if you think about all the nations from the Soviet Union, right? That could be Russian, Ukrainians, Armenians, Georgians, Lithuanians. We had some Greek, we had Korean. I'm myself quarter Korean too. So we had a very diverse population, a group of people, and you have to incorporate cultures of all these nationalities together inside the culture of Uzbekistan that is very welcoming, kind of nurturing. So I think that that played a key role for me to be diverse in cultures, right? And really understand people. Like if I hire somebody from Philippines and place them to work for somebody in the United States, I can be a translator between the two, and I'll set up the expectations culture-wise.
So, who's been a hero for you? Who's been an inspiration for you in your career path and doing the work that you've done?
Hmm. I'd say early stages, my grandma, then my dad. He was always entrepreneurial. I think my grandma was kind of more of a building blocks in terms of just just kind of that nurturing environment. I think right now is my mom, because she's just there. She's like a cheerleader. I can't believe I'm 41 and I get to enjoy still having a mom and feeling myself like a child and having that nurturing environment with her. My kids are such an inspiration to kind of get me going in the drive and keep me inspired. My husband, just being very sports driven and competitive. He's kind of my little nudge that he also sometimes would kind of debate in terms of like, are you sure it's going to work? And then I almost have to prove it is going to work, right? So I mean, it's just I'm blessed that I'm surrounded by a lot of great people. And also, I think as I started kind of maturing, growing up, because as an adult, you still mature and you still grow up every decade. I think you kind of mature. So I started connecting with people that I create purposeful connections, not just like I met somebody at work or I met somebody, at an event. I started seeking out some sort of masterminds where I could be more aligned with the same mindset, whether it's on the business end of things or spiritual, whatever it is. So being kind of more, um, uh, I guess, purposeful about making those connections.
So, was it a culture shock to move to America?
Oh, absolutely.
What,
Yes.
how did you get through it?
I think we had people that already went through that and they gave us some advice. The best advice I think was America, American dream is a reality. You can get everything that you want. However, you just have to like when you're gonna get in, and you're probably gonna have a dip because my husband and I both had pretty amazing jobs, right? Our income level based on the level of the country where we lived in was amazing. I had a chauffeur, right? I was a 21-year-old working at a job and I had a chauffeur, right? It was just a different setup in the environment that we were in. And they said, you're gonna experience the culture shock where you're probably gonna be at the lowest level of jobs possible, but it's not gonna last for a while. And you are, as long as you're determined and have your grit, you are gonna get your dream. And that's exactly what happened. We were prepared to just suck up our egos and do whatever needs to be done, and I went to start to work at the shoe store, and my husband went to work at the warehouse. And obviously, within like 6 months, we all got great jobs, and eventually we all got into business. So I think that really helped somebody really set the expectations right.
So, in the world of business, what business exists out there? What business model do you admire the most? And maybe you would like to meet the CEO of that business and just see how they operate or ask questions.
It's a very good question. I am fascinated. So one of my friends, she is in the startup world, and she's connected to Y Combinator, and so she shares stories with us. And I'm fascinated by people who just come up with an idea such as, let me get an extra source of fuel from an asteroid. Like that was the recent, right? She was sharing a story about one startup founder. And I was like, how do people even like come up with these ideas? This is amazing. It's just so fascinating. So I think the closest probably would be Elon Musk, just because he's so publicly, out there. But just the whole process, let me just challenge the status quo and let me just come up with something that nobody else came up with. And not just kind of roaming in this idea and just sit with that and wouldn't be nice, but actually take action and do something about it. I feel like I'm more and more amazed by these people that could just, I don't know, just come up with something and then make it happen, right? So I'd say probably that's my avatar that I'm fascinated with.
So, what is the motivation for you every day to wake up, to do the work that you do, to help people, and to also evolve as a professional, as a human being? What is that for you every day?
I think like the after 40, I got to really understand the purpose of life is just the joy of living. Um, so I get to wake up and be surprised every day. And I feel like that's what gets me going. I don't have to be surprised by a massive thing, right? I could just be surprised by, beautiful weather outside. I just recently was surprised by driving back home and seeing aurora borealis in my
Wow.
backyard, right? It just was so fascinating. So I just welcome every day life that comes at me, and I just welcome whatever comes along with that. I've learned not to dwell on anything, whether you deem this negative or positive. Everything is just kind of your perception, right? So I figured out a mind trick where you can just basically define everything as amazing thing, right? And as long as you define it this way, the life itself, it just unfolds in the most important and kind of the most beautiful nature. So I wouldn't say that it's just my children or just my husband or just my parents or whatnot. I feel like the life itself just it's so exciting for me that's what gets me going.
So, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Hmm, man, I got so many good advice. I think probably I'd probably use my coach. Um, Everything that I perceive is the product of my own fantasy. It's the product of my own sort of mindset. So it helps so much not to ever blame anyone for anything or just kind of really perceive your life as it comes and do know that I am kind of like you know, I don't know, like a producer of the movie that I get to live in. So I feel like I did grow up in a mindset where the external factors can trigger you, right? And, somebody cuts you on the road, probably was never kind of bothered by that, but there were some other aspects of life, maybe still are, that trigger certain emotional reaction. But knowing that I can flip it all upside down, I think that's probably the biggest mind trick for the whole life.
So, let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into that version of you before you move to America, and you can give that younger version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained along the way. What advice would you impart on that younger version of you?
Chill, relax, take it easy. That's it.
Yeah. So, of everything that you've done and evolved into and moved to and moved from, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Just being me,
Yeah.
that I don't have to sort of kind of adhere to a certain standard, and I don't have to fold into any type of kind of rules or subset of groups. And I get to actually love and enjoy every single kind of group setting, whether it's a sort of family, friendships, colleagues, games, um, even politics. I mean, I just, take it for what it is. Um, so yeah, just be myself. And it's kind of cute, I would say cute, but also amazing to uncover yourself every single day as a different person and just kind of be open to being to change, I guess, every single day. Because I'm definitely a totally different person than I was probably even a year ago, right? Not even saying 20 years ago.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Good question. Probably gonna go into like, because there's just like a lot of layers of the what I would normally kind of say to the outer world, right? Sometimes in certain settings you'll define yourself as a parent. In certain settings you'll define yourself as a business owner. In other settings you'll define yourself. Let's say I play pickleball. Maybe I'll define myself as a level of play. But if I don't have to um, respond to any specific person within any specific setting, I would just say I'm a joy. That's it. Like that's what I feel about myself and my life in general. Um, just joy. That's it.
So let's say we get off this call, time machine pulls up. You can go anywhere in the history of time to see one event with your own eyes. What would you love to have seen?
I'm reading a book right now about ancient Rome and about all the kind of Greek culture too and the gods. I probably would love to witness the sort of kind of the evolvement of that Greek culture and Roman culture. And just be kind of maybe like a fly on the wall and
Yeah,
just observe. That would be nice.
the beginnings of modern civilization. So if anyone wants to reach out, learn more about you, any of the good business, where's the best place to go?
Anyone can connect with me through LinkedIn, Anna Lee, or if you are looking to connect me through business setting, outsourceyourtasks.com.
Excellent. Anna, thank you so much. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.